Hi everybody, it's Teresa with threesticksin.com. I've got another fantastic home decor DIY project for you. So in this house, in Addie's room, there was a built-in bench, a window bench, which was just begging for a bench cushion. But I also have this piece of furniture in my living room, which we kind of use as a toy chest right now. It used to be an entertainment center when we had an odd-shaped place to put our TV. And it's perfect to be sat on too. So I thought, while I'm at it, why don't I make two bench cushions? And I thought there's so many ways to bring a bench cushion into your house, whether it's on top of an ottoman, whether you're repurposing a table and trying to get a little more seating room, whether you've got a banquette seat in a breakfast nook, or just a window bench like in Addie's room. There's a million ways to use bench cushions and they are so easy to make. You should not have to pay somebody a fortune to custom make one for you. So the first thing you need is the foam. This is the stuff that I got. I got this at Joann's and it is, 3 inches thick, and I had them cut it to the length of the window bench, all the dimensions, the length and the width of Addie's window bench, and then this one is for the bench seat that's going to be in my living room. So once I measured the dimensions, I'll need to apply that to my fabric. So the yardage you'll need to do a little math depending on the size of your cushion, because each of these will be so custom that you'll have to do your own measuring and make sure that you measure carefully, because nothing's more heartbreaking than spending all this time making something fabulous only to have it not fit. So measure carefully, and then you'll need the two pieces to be the top and bottom. And so I cut those. And when you cut your pieces, you're going to need to leave room for your seams. And that's called a seam allowance. So just decide on what that measurement is going to be and be consistent in all of your seams so that you don't have to try to remember any different. So I like to do a 1/2 inch on each side because it just makes the math easy, basically. So when I cut my big pieces for the top and bottom, I cut it to the size of the foam with an extra inch wide and an extra inch long, and that will give me 1/2 inch on all 4 sides to make my seams. So those pieces are cut. Then you'll need the pieces to go around the sides. So with that being, oh wait, that's 2-inch foam. I can't remember if I said that earlier. That's 2-inch foam, so I cut 3-inch strips. And I cut a bunch of these and then sewed them together. So I'd have one long strip that I could use to go around the full perimeter of the bench. Now, you'll also have to have some way to get that cushion into the bench. And you'll hopefully want to wash it every once in a while. It's always great to have upholstery that you can wash, especially if you live with kids and pets like I do. So you'll need a zipper. And this one is a 22-inch long zipper in a color that complements. And that's going to go on the sides. So what I did was I took some fabric and cut it to the same length as my zipper. I gave myself a couple of inches just to have a little wiggle room. And I cut 2 of those. So what we're gonna do is put the fabric, we'll sew these on so that they'll go on each side. And then we'll sew these to the outer strip. So it'll become part of that side wall that we're sewing all the way around. Then, if you want piping on your cushion, you'll have to cut fabric for that too. So I have a little nest back here of fabric. I cut this to be 2 inches, and this gives me plenty of room to have my cording on the inside and then plenty of seam allowance. So I cut a bunch of 2-inch strips and then sewed those together. And you remember that you'll need to cut enough to go around the top and around the bottom. So make sure you include that in your careful measurements. So you'll need all 8 sides. So lots and lots of fabric cut. So now we're ready to get to work. The first thing we're gonna do is put in our zipper. And to do that, we're gonna start by using a zipper foot. This has a smaller middle section so that the bulk of the zipper can kind of ride up right alongside here and not get in your way. So you'll want to put that on your sewing machine. Each zipper will come with instructions for how to sew it into your fabric. But typically what you'll want to do is start with your zipper about halfway down. Take your fabric and line it up with the outer edge of your zipper, and then run it through your sewing machine with the zipper foot as close to that zipper as you can. Once you sew down to where the zipper is, you'll have to stop and lift your foot up, zip that up and out of your way, and then you can keep sewing down that side. So I'm going to do that on both of these sides, and then I'll have my zipper ready to install in the rest of that side piece. While I've got the zipper foot on my sewing machine, I'm going to make my piping. So you'll need to get some cording like this, and this is basically just the rope that goes inside and makes the piping stay. So I've got all of this long strip that I already cut that's 2 inches wide and sewn together to make one giant strip. And all I'm going to do is take my cording, it's kind of unraveling on me here, put that inside my fabric and bend it around. And I'm going to secure the top part here with a pin, and then I'm going to sew that. Now I'm going to use the zipper foot so that all of this stuff doesn't get in the way of my regular foot. You wouldn't be able to like get it through the sewing machine using a different kind. But I'm not going to sew right up to here, because then you'll see the thread when I go to put it on the rest of my cushion. You don't want to see a thread line there if you can avoid it. So what I'm going to do is sew like back here a ways so that it will keep it closed and keep the cording in position, but be back far enough that it won't show up in the finished project. When your piping is sewn, it will look like this, and then it's time to just pin it onto your big piece of fabric, your main top and bottom piece. So I pinned that all the way around, and it's pretty self-explanatory except for when you get to the corners. So if you've got this straight thing, then trying to make it go around a corner can only curve, which won't give you those nice sharp box corners that you want on a bench seat. So in order to get a firm corner, you have to clip it. So you can see here how I've put a little cut right there into it. What you want to do is, as you're pinning around, you get to where your seam allowance starts. So in my case, it's about 1/2 inch from the end. And you'll put a clip into the fabric just a fraction of an inch up from that. So you don't want to do it right on the seam allowance, because otherwise then you'll see the frayed edges, but you want to get as close to that as you can. So give that a clip, turn the corner, and keep on pinning. And then once you get to the end, let me see if I can do this upside down to show you. So here is, okay, so here's the first end, and the cording inside goes all the way to there. So the first thing I did on this end piece was open this up, and I cut the cording to match up exactly to where that piece line, so that it like butts right up against that piece. I think you can see there's the cording inside, and it will match right up with that. So I'm going to take this open part and just wrap it right around, and so that will go inside like that, okay? But then you'll have this raw edge. So to deal with that, I'm going to fold that over and then fit that back inside. And this can take a little finessing. I might not be able to get it exactly perfect while I'm trying to do this upside down, but oh, that's not too bad. There we go. So you can see how nicely that will look with that fold there. But you don't want to have the extra bulk of having two pieces of cording, so you want to make those just run right into each other. And then just hide your raw edges. And I'll give that a pin and then sew all the way around this sucker. I've sewn my piping on, and then I went and did the additional step of finishing it with a zigzag stitch. And what this does is kind of lock the edges so that it doesn't fray. These home decor weight fabrics are usually woven instead of knit, and that means that as soon as it's cut, the threads can start completely going all over the place. So I zigzag stitch that so that not only is it clean as I'm working, but when I throw it in the washing machine, I won't pull it out and just have loose threads everywhere. So that step is done. And now we have to sew that middle section. So we've got the top and the bottom, and now we have to sew like the spine, basically, of our cushion. So I've got this strip here. I cut this to the size of my foam, plus the seam allowance on each side. And you can see how I've already got my zipper piece sewn on. So I sewed these two little strips to my zipper, and then sewed the zipper onto the rest of my strip right at where that zipper shuttle hits. See, it hits right at that seam. So now I need to start pinning this on. I'm gonna do that just how I did the piping. We'll pin all the way around, we'll clip the corners when we come to them, and we'll keep on going. But we will need this to join to itself. You know, we can't just have one open corner. And I have not done that yet, because often I find that even my most careful measurements change a little bit as I'm doing the piping and we're dealing with multiple seam allowances. So I like to do that as I go. So I'm gonna pin this on the right sides together, like so. Okay, so I'll pin that in place. I'll go all the way around, and then once I bring the other end back around, let's say I've got like this much left over, like that. So I'm gonna mark with a pin where those two pieces meet, and then undo enough so that I can reach my sewing machine and sew that together. And then sew that, cut off the extra, and get back to pinning until I've got the sides all neatly and evenly placed, and then sew the whole thing and do it for the other side, and then I'll be done. Okay, so I've got a lot of sewing ahead of me, but one more thing I need to mention. Before you sew the whole thing open, before you sew the whole thing, you need to remember to open the zipper. This is a tragedy of a mistake I have made more than once. But you want that zipper open, because once you sew this piece to the top and the bottom, your cushion will be shut. There will be no way to turn it right side out unless you have the zipper open. So make sure you do that before you finish your sewing, or you will have to undo a lot of your careful work. Okay, so 2 more pieces to sew together, and then we're ready to wrestle this thing into its cover. You know, in addition to providing me with more seating, which is always great in a television room with family and friends dropping by, this is also a perfect way to bring in a little more color. Sometimes I can be loath to buy a couch in a really exciting print, or a color that's maybe really trendy, because who wants to be married to that big of an investment piece in something that might be out of style in a little while? These bench cushions are so easy to whip up, so easy to replace the cover to make it match a new refurbished room, that this is a fantastic way to kind of update and bring a fresh look to your room. And plus it's one more place to just be cozy. I've got big ideas for pillows. These I just swiped from the couch for today, but I think I need a lot more pillows in here, since this is the room where we sack out all the time and watch TV. Plus, Addie is already pulling this off and just using it as a mattress on the floor. And since he spends most of his time playing on the floor, I think it's pretty great to have a little soft thing for him so that he can get a break on his poor little body. So this is basically just a win all the way around. I hope that this tutorial was helpful for you and inspiring for ways that you can bring a little fresh appeal into your spaces. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Leave a comment down below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.